Hey guys, so this is going to be a rather emotional and tough video for me. This will be the first story time that I've done on this channel. By the time this video is uploaded, it'll be December the 1st, which is my mother's birthday. So with that being said, I thought this would be the perfect time to kind of tell her story, tell my story. I don't really talk about her much. Nobody really talks about her much, at least not to me. And it's one of those things like, how do you live your life not acknowledging, not speaking, not living anything that has to do with someone or something that you love? So growing up, we never really had a lot of money, which growing up, usually you don't really think about it, you know, especially when you come up in a family that's filled with love and just camaraderie and everybody getting together and representing union. I grew up in Maryland, Prince George's County. My mom had 3 children, me being the eldest and me also being the only girl. So I was very protective of my brothers when it came to the outside world and friends and the other kids in the neighborhoods. But I was also very hard on my brothers as well. Like, I would beat them up just because I could, because I was the oldest, because I was the biggest. With having us 3 and her raising us on her own, she didn't stay with any of our fathers, so she was pretty much a single mom. She did the best that she could. My memories of my childhood was not of riches when it comes to monetary things, but it was filled with love. Like, I felt loved. And the reason I speak so heavily on not being filled with riches, but we were a family and you could feel it, it will be explained a little bit further down the line in this video. The memories of my mom, I don't remember the medium. Like, I remember her being healthy, fine, and then I just remember her being sick. So there was no progression period as far as my memory growing up. How she came from being this healthy woman to being pretty much on her deathbed. My mom didn't die just spur of the moment, some accident. We knew she was going to go. It was just a matter of when. So I'm sure a lot of the elders in the family were preparing themselves. Me, on the other hand, being 9 years old, I had no clue what was going on. I mean, I saw her get sick, but you never think that your mom is going to just die, that they would disappear. Hospital runs, ambulance being called to the house, just like out of nowhere. I remember one time, it was me and my brothers in the house with her, which is really weird to think of it now, because it's like, why would we be in the house with her at the stage that she was in alone with no other supervision? She slept most of the time. She laid down. She was weak, barely ate. And I just remember some weird noise, and I turned around and she was on the couch and she was like having a seizure pretty much. And I think, if I remember correctly, within those few weeks, I think I may have had some type of class in school about calling 911, which is funny thinking about it now, because no one else had ever told me to call 911. But I remember in school we had some type of lesson, and they were explaining to us about when to call 911. And I remember we had the fire trucks at the school, and we got to get into the fire truck and all of that. So as I turned around and I saw her having a seizure, the first thing I thought was, okay, I remember in school, call 911. So I called 911. And that had to be probably when I really realized my mom was really sick, that it wasn't just a normal, okay, today my mom isn't feeling good and tomorrow she probably won't be feeling good either. But this was like, really, I realized she was really sick. While my mom was sick, like, I did a lot of helping, like helping her bathe. When she needed certain stuff, I would get it for her. Like, she couldn't keep food down. And literally, when I say bowls, she had a bowl next to her bed, probably this high, this wide. And I remember having to take it to the bathroom to dump it after she couldn't keep her food down. Like, it was literally filled with vomit. And at 9 years old, that's a lot to put on a child. Those are things that I try not to remember. Close to my mom passing, she pretty much was put on hospice. I remember them bringing a hospital bed to where we lived. And it didn't hit me then. And I remember she had a machine. I don't know whether it was oxygen or what it was, or it might have been just the bed. I don't know. But when they brought it in, they asked me to plug up whatever it was. And I got electrocuted. I got shocked. And I got shocked, and I remember crying. It wasn't even that bad, but I got shocked. And it was so small compared to what was going on. But it's just funny looking back on the things that you remember. The night that she passed, I remember her in and out of sleep. She would wake up and like she was kind of hallucinating. Like, it's almost like she was backtracking, like she was getting younger in her sleep. Like, she would wake up and she would talk as if she was a little girl. And my mom had naturally like her own nails. Like, she had really long nails. And I remember her waking up like drinking as if she was drinking from her nails. And I was just sitting there looking at her, like trying to figure out what was going on. Still at 9 years old, I didn't know that these were her last moments. It became the norm after a while to see her sick. So I remember her waking up and like drinking from her nails. And my grandmother went over to her and like woke her up a little bit, like, Marie, like, what are you doing? And she was like, Mommy always told me to share. And she was like, do you want some? Mommy always told me to share. So whatever she thought she was holding in her sleep, she started trying to like share it with my grandmother. So it was just a night of her kind of just going in and out, and what seemed like her becoming a little girl again. When she finally passed in the room, looking back on it now, I wished someone had taken me out the room before. I wish someone had not let me experience that moment. So looking back on it, I'm guessing she was DNR, which is do not resuscitate, because no one tried to bring her back. It was no immediate call 911. So it was kind of like, when she's gone, that's it. So when the machine started going off and everybody realized what was going on, I was already in the room. Everybody else started coming into the room. And everybody just bawled. My mom was the oldest, like me. But her brother, who was the second oldest, everyone called Lucky. So he was my Uncle Lucky. I had never seen him cry. It levels to my mom passing. Of course, seeing her pass was hard. And I was trying to take that in. But to see this big, strong man who I had never seen shed a tear just break down, it's vivid. It's vivid in my brain. So after she passed, I remember like just standing at the foot of her bed, and my Uncle Lucky's wife, whose name was Sharon, was just holding me, and I just laid in her chest and I just cried. And my Uncle Lucky tried to close her eyes, and her eyes just wouldn't close. They were just stuck on me, and I just stood at the foot of the bed looking back at her and just crying. I didn't know what to do. I don't even know if at that moment it really registered me that she was gone. Like, that I didn't understand that I would never see her alive again. So she was gone. I don't remember ever attended any funeral prior to my mom's. So from memory, my mom's was the first funeral I ever attended as a child. It was the first limo ride. You get in a limo to go to prom. You get into a limo to go to parties. But my first limo ride was to my mom's funeral. And while I was so sad, it was also the little kid in me to celebrate the fact that I got to ride in a limo on her funeral day. My mother passed in 1997. She had AIDS and she died a month before my 10th birthday. Her death certificate says that she died of sepsis. After my mom was gone, not too long after she passed, I had to move with my father. Growing up with my father wasn't easy at all. I was already troubled from my life in Maryland, you know, my mom passing and a couple of other issues that I had. So moving with my father wasn't easy. It was like trading off what I spoke of as far as being stable financially, having the necessities and not having to figure out whether we were going to have food, whether I was going to have clothes, none of that like I had to before. It was moving into a house where I had everything that I needed, but it always felt like there was a hole when it came to love and family. That's what I miss the most. Now that I'm older, I am 31. I'll be 32 in 2019. And it never really gets easier. That never gets easier. The reason it could never be easier is because as life progresses, as things change, as I go through things, whether it's up or down, as my babies get older, they're going through life. There's not a day that I don't wish that I can call my mom and share, whether it be happiness or sadness or whatever emotion I'm going through at the time. I would love to just be able to call her. Something so simple as just a phone call. Yes, over 20 years later, after losing my mom at the age of 9, I still cry like a big old baby. I still have dreams of her. I'm getting older and it's like no one speaks of her. And it's like my memories of her are starting to fade. But one thing that I do remember, it sticks in my head, is the way that she used to laugh. I can't really remember her voice when her speaking voice, but I remember her laugh. And it was so contagious. When I think of her and I think of her laugh, like it makes me smile. My first daughter, I named after my mom. My mom's name was Marie Antoinette Jefferson. So I named my first daughter Marie Antoinette Williams, taken after her father's last name. It just almost felt like I had a small part of her, even though it wasn't her, just to keep her name going. Even when no one else seemed to really acknowledge that she even existed. It was so important. So I would probably be 90 years old. And when it comes to speaking of my mom, I will probably always still turn back into that 9-year-old girl, because that's where I left off at. Every year on her birthday, I wish I could call her. I wish I could go to her. I wish I could give her a hug. I wish I could hear her voice. I wish I could tell her I love you. I wish I could tell her happy birthday. And I do that, but I wish I can get a response back. Every year I try to figure out what I'm going to do for her birthday. How am I going to celebrate her? I don't really talk to anyone about her. So I thought, I have this platform. Why not why not share it here? If your mom is gone, never let anyone tell you how you should grieve, how long you should grieve for. For some, it gets easier. Some, it doesn't. But you're allowed to go through your moment as you're supposed to. And you don't have to be so tough just because you're getting older, which I've always felt like I needed to be tougher because I'm older now. I always used to say that I know that I was supposed to bury my mom. That's the nature of things. But I should not have had to experience that at the age of 9. My mother passed at the age of 29 years old. 29. And I always could only understand the pain that I was feeling. And only as I got older and I got closer to my mother's age, which when I turned 29, is when I really was open to trying to understand like what she might have been going through. To just have your life just taken from you so young with 3 children. That was when I could finally try to understand like the pain that she might have been feeling knowing that she was about to leave 3 children on this earth. I know she was scared. I know she was probably angry. Of course, sad. I have 3 daughters. And to think of me on my deathbed, knowing that I had to leave them here, that crushes me. Putting myself in her shoes is a whole nother pain, because I never tried to, or even thought to understand what she might have been going through when she had to leave this earth. I'm a firm believer that afterlife we all get to meet again. And I know I sound so nasally, and I'm sorry. And I know when I see her, I'm going to just run. And I'm probably not going to be able to get to her quick enough. And I know that I'm going to probably think that I'm 9 years old again. And try to jump into her arms. Because like, I'll finally have my mommy back. I'll finally get to have my mommy back. So today, well, the day that you guys will be seeing this video, it is December the 1st. And I just want you guys to experience with me and join in by wishing my mom, Marie Antoinette Jefferson, a happy, happy birthday.